It all started at exactly 7:46 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't expecting visitors. I was halfway through my first cup of coffee, still wearing an old t-shirt and boxers, when the doorbell rang. Buster, my golden retriever, gave a single bark and trotted to the door, wagging his tail like we were about to welcome a long-lost friend. Instead, when I opened the door, there stood Karen. If you've ever met someone whose entire personality screams homeowners association, you've met a Karen. Hair in tight curlers, pink satin robe tied tight, clipboard clutched to her chest like it was the Constitution, and a sour look on her face like she had just swallowed a lemon. She didn't even say hello, your dog. She began, with a tone that was sharp and accusatory, barked 3 times this morning. I blinked at her. 3 times. She nodded like she was presenting evidence in a court trial. 3 times. I've been tracking it. That caught me off guard. You're tracking my dog's barks. Karen flipped open the clipboard. Sure enough, it was filled with handwritten logs, dates, times, and little check marks. Look, here, she said, stabbing at a line with her finger. Monday, 7:45 a.m. 1 bark. Then again at 7:52. And then again at 8:03. That's a pattern. I looked down at Buster, who was now sitting beside me, panting and looking up at Karen like she might give him a treat. I swear he even wagged his tail. Karen, he's a dog. Dogs bark sometimes. He's not barking in the middle of the night or anything. That doesn't matter. This is a quiet neighborhood. My husband has migraines. I've already filed a complaint with the HOA. She turned on her heel and walked off before I could say anything else, leaving me standing there, stunned. I looked back at Buster. 3 barks, huh? He gave a small woof, as if to answer Dot at first. I tried to shrug it off. Maybe she was just in a bad mood. But the next morning, taped right to my front door, was a notice from the HOA, excessive noise from domestic animal. It read, violation of Section 8.4 nuisance behavior. A fine of $75 was listed at the bottom, with a warning that further violations could lead to escalating fines and additional action. That was when it got real. I couldn't believe it. Buster wasn't a yappy dog. He wasn't outside all day barking. His head off, he barked when the mailman came, or when the neighborhood squirrels threw an acorn party on our fence. The idea that this counted as a nuisance was insane. But Karen had gone through official channels, and now I had a fine to pay. I paid the fine, reluctantly, but something about the way Karen had handled it so smug, so self-righteous lit a fire in me. I decided if she wanted to play this game, I could play too, only I'd play smarter. So I started watching, not in a creepy way, just observing. Every afternoon, I noticed that Karen's backyard turned into a mini resort. Loud music, laughter, people coming and going who clearly didn't live in the neighborhood. There were parties every Friday night, and sometimes on weekdays too. I could see colorful lights strung up around her back patio, tiki torches flickering, after dark, and the splash of water from what was clearly a swimming pool. That's what really caught my attention, because our HOA had a very clear policy: no permanent pools allowed unless registered and approved. Above-ground pools were allowed with limitations, but in-ground pools required permits, inspections, and special insurance, and I had a good memory. I didn't remember seeing any construction trucks at her place in the past year. So how did she have a full in-ground pool? I did a little digging, asked around casually. No one else in the neighborhood even knew she had a pool, because she kept her backyard completely fenced in, tall privacy fencing all the way around. Except the thing is, you can hide a lot behind a fence, but not from above. That's when I called my cousin Jake, who does drone photography for real estate. I asked him to test out a new drone in my backyard, just for fun, and maybe take a few wide shots of the neighborhood while he was at it. What he showed me confirmed everything. That there it was, Karen's secret oasis. A big blue in-ground pool with a stone patio around it, deck chairs, and even one of those oversized unicorn floaties. Definitely not temporary, definitely not legal. And judging by the pool's position, it extended right up to the edge of her property line to close. By HOA standards, and worse yet, partially built over the designated utility easement. I had what I needed. The next morning, I filled out the HOA violation form online, attached the drone photos, checked every box, unpermitted structure, violation of setback regulations, and use of property for unauthorized events. I even added a note that water runoff from her pool was affecting the slope of the neighbor's yard. It felt a little petty, but then I remembered that $75 fine on my door, and the smug look on Karen's face as she told me my dog was too loud. This wasn't just payback. This was justice. A week later, the city inspector pulled into the neighborhood in a white pickup with a city seal on the side. I just happened to be outside watering the lawn when he arrived. Karen saw him too. I could tell because the front door slammed open and she practically sprinted down the driveway. Barefoot, clutching a folder of documents, I leaned on my rake, sipping a fresh cup of coffee, and watched the show begin. The inspector spent a solid 30 minutes in Karen's backyard. I couldn't see everything from where I stood. Her privacy fence was tall, and her backyard dense with trees and patio umbrellas, but I could hear bits and pieces, raised voices, the sharp edge of frustration in her tone. At one point, I swear I heard, "But I did apply for the permit. It must have gotten lost," followed by a flat, "Unimpressed, that's not how this works, ma'am," from the inspector. Buster lay beside me on the front porch, his head on his paws, watching the chaos with the lazy interest of someone who knew karma had finally shown up. Eventually, the inspector left without another word, climbed into his truck, and drove off down the street. Karen didn't even come back inside right away. She just stood there on the driveway, arms crossed, lips pressed together in a tight little line, like she was trying to keep from screaming. Her husband came out after a minute, barefoot in pajama pants, rubbing his temples like the noise of reality was too loud for his delicate skull. By the next morning, things had escalated. Another notice, this time from the city, was posted to her door. Bright orange, unmistakable. It read, in bold letters, ****, stop work order, code violation ****. From there, it was a domino effect. Once the HOA caught wind that the pool was not only unpermitted, but also built illegally over a utility easement, the real pain began for Karen. The HOA president, who had previously ignored most of our complaints unless they involved fence paint, colors, or trash bins left out too long, was suddenly very interested in Karen's case. Word spread fast across our neighborhood Facebook group. Neighbors who had once politely waved at Karen began typing in all caps about her audacity and complete disregard for the rules, according to a very long and oddly satisfying post from Mrs. Donovan down the street, who you could always count on for unfiltered neighborhood gossip. Karen had been issued over $8,000 in fines. She'd also been ordered to dismantle the pool completely within 30 days or face escalating legal action, including potential liens against her home. Apparently, building that pool not only broke HOA regulations, but also violated multiple city zoning laws and didn't have a single inspection on record. I didn't gloat, not outwardly anyway, but every time I walked Buster past her house, I nodded politely. Sometimes I even waved. She never waved back. Within a few days, the pool parties stopped. The tiki torches came down. The string lights were coiled up and stored. The once loud oasis in her backyard became eerily quiet. A week later, a crew arrived not to fix the violations, but to remove the pool entirely. They started by jackhammering through the concrete patio, the echo of it ringing through the neighborhood like thunder. I stood in my kitchen sipping coffee, savoring every crack and crumble. Karen didn't come outside during the demolition. I imagine it was too painful to watch. That pool had been her secret kingdom, her personal escape, and now it was being torn apart piece by piece because she couldn't mind her own business about a golden retriever barking 3 times in the morning. Buster, for his part, didn't change a thing. He still barked at the mailman, still wagged his tail at every neighbor, still spent lazy afternoons on the porch chasing squirrels only in his dreams. But now, no one said a word, not one more complaint. If anything, neighbors would stop to pet him or toss him a treat. Buster became something of a local hero, the dog who took down the HOA tyrant. A few weeks later, a for sale sign appeared in Karen's front yard. No announcement, No farewell party, just a sudden decision. Like the entire neighborhood had turned radioactive and she needed out. Rumor had it she was moving to a different county, somewhere less strict, somewhere she could do what she wanted. I almost felt sorry for the new neighbors wherever she was going. On her last day in the neighborhood, as the moving truck loaded up the last of her patio furniture, I walked Buster one final time past her house. She was outside, arms crossed, glaring at a flower bed like it had personally betrayed her. I caught her eye, gave her a polite nod. She didn't respond, but as I passed, Buster looked up at her, tongue lolling, tail wagging, and let out a single, cheerful bark. Karen flinched. That bark, more than anything, felt like the final word. I walked on, hiding a grin, because in the end, Karen had tried to play neighborhood dictator. She weaponized the home over a few innocent barks, and all it did was shine a spotlight on her own violations. The pool, the parties, the rule-breaking, none of it had mattered to anyone before. But when she picked that fight, she opened the door for scrutiny she wasn't prepared for. And as it turns out, if you're going to throw stones in a neighborhood full of windows, you better make sure you're not living in a glass house with an illegal in-ground pool. By the time the moving truck drove off down the street, the only sound left behind was the faint jingle of Buster's collar as he trotted beside me, completely unaware of the quiet little victory he'd just won.